You're watching ChillyBoy Productions. I'm Larry ChillyBoy Chilson, and this is my review for How to Train Your Dragon. Now, before we get into this review, make sure to go ahead and click that subscribe button down below so that you can chill with me on each and every one of my latest videos. How to Train Your Dragon is a 2025 fantasy adventure film directed by Dean DeBlois, who, in fact, also directed the 2010 DreamWorks animated original film. On the rugged Isle of Berk, a young Viking boy named Hiccup defies centuries of tradition by befriending a dragon named Toothless. As this unlikely friendship blossoms, must navigate the tricky waters of a strong Viking traditionalist father and forging a new path all of his own, as merging the two may just be the key to saving both species against a dormant ancient foe. The film stars Mason Thames as Hiccup, Nico Parker as Astrid, Nick Frost as Gobber, and Gerard Butler reprising his role as the live-action Stoic. So I am an absolutely huge How to Train Your Dragon fan. It is far and away my favorite DreamWorks property, my favorite DreamWorks franchise. It's honestly one of my favorite trilogies of films ever. I love Toothless. I love Hiccup. I love these movies so much. So when I heard that Universal and DreamWorks were going the Disney route and giving us a live action remake of one of my most beloved animated films, I was less than excited. Particularly because the original film is only 15 years old at this point. They haven't even given us time to get really nostalgic and miss these characters. But when I heard Dean was back to direct the film once more, to write the script, adapt his own work, which itself is an adaptation, I was a little bit more open to hear what they had to say. And I know that initial trailer was very divisive. However, it charmed me, and that had a lot to do with the toothless design. Once I saw that they pretty much got the toothless design down, I was open. I was ready to hear them out and hear what the vision was this time around. And I have to say, the vision is exactly what the vision was for in 2010 when it came to the animated film, but that's not entirely a bad thing. This 2025 live action version of How to Train Your Dragon is definitely stuck in a weird place because it is a shot for shot remake. This film hardly deviates from the animated original. I would argue it deviates less than even the most faithful adaptation from Disney at this point. I guess that's what you get when you get the same guy to write and direct the live action version. But I love the animated original. I love the story. I love the characters. John Powell is back to do the score once again, and I adore the original score. So all the groundwork is there. And when you put those ingredients together, once again, I was swept up. I enjoyed these characters. I enjoyed this story. But for as much as I had a nice enough time watching the film, being a shot for shot remake, I still never really envisioned myself choosing to watch this version over the superior animated version. It's going to forever live in the shadow of the original because it's the exact same film as the original, just not as good in any category. So let's go ahead and talk about the positives first. Well, I want to give it up for this cast. Pretty much from top to bottom, I enjoyed this cast. Mason Thames is fantastic as Hiccup. I think he perfectly embodied this character in live action form. He was charming, he's adorable, he's incredibly likable. I thought he got Hiccup's essence down to a T. And he's acting against a CGI creature and yet had such great chemistry with Toothless. I also loved Nico Parker as Astrid. I thought she was feisty, she was fierce, she was fun, and their chemistry also, and her chemistry with Mason Thames as Hiccup also worked really well. I bought that they liked each other, and I think maybe that's one aspect they slightly, very slightly, improved on from the original animated version is we got just a scene or two where we established the groundwork of a crush going on between the two of them, not just a one-sided admiration. The rest of our cast and crew are a whole lot of fun as well. I really enjoyed Nick Frost as Gobber, though not as funny and not as exuberant as his animated counterpart. I actually really enjoyed the more emotional aspects that Nick brought to the character. A slightly different take, but one that I enjoyed almost as much. And then Gerard Butler is back as Stoic. I think he loves this character. He was great as the voice of Stoic before, and I think this is his best live action performance in quite some time. You can feel he just really enjoys being Stoic, and he killed it. And he also has really nice chemistry with Mason Thames. I really enjoyed that dynamic just inherently through the story between Stoic and Hiccup, and I think they bring it to life really nicely. John Powell once again delivers. I think it is a pretty similar score to the original. I don't know that he changed all that much, but there were a few sequences that I think the music was certainly at least remixed a little bit, and it worked well, and it still is magical watching and hearing that in a Dolby cinema. And again, the film captured the basic essence of the animated classic. Story's intact, it's still great. The emotions are there, they're conveyed well. It's cute, it's fun, it's funny. In every measure, it is a perfectly serviceable remake of the animated film, just in a new medium. And then we get to Toothless, who is probably the biggest positive of the whole film. They got the design right. They didn't try to go super gnarly dragon or anything like that. They kept his design. He looks like this in this film as well. And they kept him expressive. He's really dynamic. I loved his emotions. Not quite as cute as his animated counterpart, but he got pretty close. At least as close as you can get for a realistic live action rendering. So then, what doesn't work so well when it comes to How to Train Your Dragon? Well, I actually think the cinematography is very hit or miss. Sometimes it looks stunning. We get these big, sweeping, gorgeous shots. And then it's very much on a green screen, particularly in some of those flying sequences. You're like, whoa, okay, yes, green screen, there you are. Also, the test drive sequence. The music hits just as hard in this, and actually, that's one of the moments where they add a little bit of a modulation in the middle of it that worked well. But they kind of changed the sequence and made it a lot choppier. And that's a big problem, I think, throughout the film, is a lot of these big, epic flying sequences in this version are chopped up and edited a lot more than the animated version, which takes away some of that majestic, awe-inspiring nature. And just in general, animation allows you to do such big, grand, expressive things with the characters, with the seamless nature between human and dragon that they tried to replicate here in live action. It just wasn't all that successful and has a lot to do with both the cinematography not quite being fully successful, and then the editing really trying to overcompensate and chopping these big majestic moments up far too much. And then a really small minor nitpick, they delete a scene in this film that explains part of our big battle. Like it gives us an actual explanation of something involving Toothless and a baby dragon. That scene is cut from the movie, and there's no other instance in here that Hiccup would learn the lesson he learns here that he then implements in our final battle. So, one of those instances where a seemingly inconsequential short scene that you think just leave it on the cutting room floor actually plays a bigger part in the narrative and puts in kind of a loophole here. So overall, I enjoyed How to Train Your Dragon. I thought it was perfectly lovely. You could tell everybody on screen really enjoyed making this film, and they put their all into creating these characters in the live action setting. I'm so happy for this entire talented young cast to get this opportunity. You can tell Gerard Butler enjoyed stepping into this role for live action. And Dean, our director and writer, I think was just trying to recapture the magic he had before. I did appreciate a quote from him in an interview where he said, "Look, they were going to make it with or without me. They were determined to do a live action version of How to Train Your Dragon. So I agreed to come on and direct it because if anyone's going to redo my film, I want to do it, so I do it right." And I think by and large, he did do it right. The only problem, as I said in my intro, it's not as good as the animated film in pretty much every single facet. So moving forward, I can't imagine myself ever preferring to go to this live action version when I have this animated masterpiece sitting on my shelf already. It is almost shot for shot, dialogue matching word for word in so many instances. And it does do the exact replica shot for shot formula better than, say, The Lion King by far. But it also leaves you thinking, I've seen this before, and I've seen it done better. So if you're a big fan of Toothless and Hiccup, I think you'll enjoy the film, honestly. I think they capture the essence of these characters and this story we all love, and it makes for a really charming watch on the big screen. So I definitely say check it out. Just maybe temper expectations and just know they were not able to recapture pure magic. So that was my review for How to Train Your Dragon. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click that like button down below and subscribe to the channel so that you are always up to date on all of my latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. Are you excited to see How to Train Your Dragon 2025? Or have you already checked it out? Let me know all of your thoughts either in that comment section down below, or you can hit me up over on Twitter. I love you all so much for your continued support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.